So from today's lesson onwards, we're going to focus a bit more on the practice of Buddhism, how actually to practice Buddhism as a lay person. The first thing we need to do is to renounce. So renounce doesn't mean that we give up our family, give up our home, and then go and become a monk or a nun. So renounce means we give up certain things, not necessarily our homes and our families. So what do we mean by renounce when we practice Buddhism as a lay person? So renounce means we renounce things like spreading rumors, we renounce things like swindling people, renounce things like, of course, murder. Any murderers here? No, right? I think no murderers, no swindlers here. Having affairs, taking drugs, shoplifting, indecent behavior, getting drunk, assault and battery, means you go and gang up and bash somebody up, lying through your teeth. So these are the things actually we have to renounce when we start to practice Buddhism as a lay person. So let's arrange this a little bit. Murder, assault and battery, we put into one group. Shoplifting, swindling people into one group. Having affairs, indecent behavior, a third group. Lying through your teeth, spreading rumors, another group. Getting drunk, taking drugs, the fifth group. So anybody have any objection about these things or not? Anybody say we should not renounce any of these things? I think quite obviously these are the things which usually we should not do, right? Common things. Obviously murder, assault and battery, shoplifting, etc., getting drunk. These are obviously the things which we should not do, even as normal people. So these are things we really should not do in our daily, normal life. So let's put this in this context. We arrange it in this way. Murder, assault and battery is the first precept. Abstain from harming and killing. Shoplifting, swindling people, you can say is abstain from taking what is not given. Having affairs, indecent behavior is abstain from sexual misconduct. And lying through your teeth, spreading rumors, is to abstain from lying and false speech. Getting drunk, taking drugs, is to abstain from the abuse of intoxicants and drugs. So this is not much more than the 5 precepts which, as practicing Buddhists, we all should strive to avoid. Let's firstly explain the meaning of precept. So precept is firstly not a commandment. In other words, a precept is a training rule. Secondly, the precepts, they are our protection, and thirdly, they are a means of training ourselves. So these are the 3 aspects of the 5 precepts explained in this simple manner. So let me go into this into a bit more detail. Firstly, as I mentioned, they are not commandments, they are training rules. But before we can look at this more clearly, let's examine firstly what commandments are. The 10 commandments, I'm sure all of you have heard of the 10 commandments. This is a nice picture of Moses getting the 10 commandments inscribed on the rock given by God. The 10 commandments, the first thing it says is, I am the Lord your God. That means these are commandments from God. So the first commandment is, you shall have no other gods before me. The first commandment from God. Second, you shall not make any graven images of God. Or actually, the full commandment is that we should not make graven images of any living beings. That's why you see some of the Muslims, they take this literally. They do not have paintings, carvings, sculptures, anything like that. So this is actually the second commandment. We should not make any graven, carven paintings, any images of living beings. This is the actual second commandment. So the third commandment is, we should not misuse the name of God. The fourth commandment, to remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. Because this was the day that God rested after creating the universe, the earth, all the living beings in 6 days. And then the 7th day, God took a rest, and then we should keep it holy. The fifth one is quite good. Honor our mother, our father. The sixth, you shall not murder, similar to the first precept. You should not commit adultery, similar to the third precept. You should not steal, similar to the second precept. You should not lie, similar to the fourth precept. And then the 10th one is, you shall not covet. That means you should not be too greedy. You want this, you want that. your neighbor has this, you want what he has. So this is actually the 10 Commandments which lays down the rules given to us by God. So you can see the first 4, nothing to do with morality, nothing to do with practice. It's just simply that God tells us to put Him first. So this is based on the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity and Islam. So these are actually tribal religions, and then their God is actually to protect them. In return, this is what, according to their beliefs, God asks of them. But again, these are created actually by man, if you look at it closely. So the first 4 are more in regard to honoring God. The rest of it is about morality. So, but the point is, these are commandments. That means God tells us, you must do this or you will be punished. So this is the opposite of a precept. Precept means actually a training rule. So it's not a commandment. Buddha did not say you cannot do this, you cannot do this. A precept is to train ourselves to be better people and to be better Buddhists. So the 5 precepts, as you can see, there's nothing about honoring the Buddha in the precepts. There's nothing about faith. There's nothing about worship. It is all about practice. It is all about morality. The key word here is abstain. That means we try our best not to conduct these negative actions. So when we take the 5 precepts, we are actually making a commitment to try our best to not do these negative actions. So it's not that if we do, we'll be punished by the Buddha. It's that if we do, it carries its negative karma. But occasionally, of course, we are not perfect, especially when we are starting out. We may break the precepts on and off. But the thing is that once we know the precepts, we are aware that we break them, and then we try our best not to do so in future. So this is how it goes slowly, we improve ourselves. Like for example, some people, before they start on the path of Buddhism, they tell lies very easily. Everything also bluff people. No big deal, right? But the thing is that when you know the precepts, you know that telling lies is against the precepts, it creates negative karma. Then you slowly cut down. Once in a while, maybe you tell a white lie or something like that. But then slowly you do get rid of it and you do improve yourselves. So abstain from harming and killing. This refers to all living beings, all sentient beings. We try our best not to harm or kill any living beings, any sentient beings. So abstain from taking what is not given means to steal. Okay, actually abstain from taking what is not given means more than stealing. For example, if somebody leaves something behind which you know doesn't belong to you, like maybe in a restaurant, for example, you see the next table, somebody leaves a handphone on the chair when they get up. You may take that and then you go off, right? And then you get a new handphone. But if you follow this precept closely, what you should really do is to go and make an effort to return that possession to the person who has left it behind. Then you're really keeping the precept. Because if you keep it, you know it's not yours, so you are actually taking what is not given. Abstain from sexual misconduct means obviously you harm others through sexual means, you get involved with other people's husbands and wives. It also means that you should not get involved sexually with people of a young age, minors. Then abstain from lying and false speech is not to harm others or to deceive people. Then abstain from the abuse of intoxicants and drugs, not to go and take drugs or not to drink. You lose your mindfulness such that you do things which you are not aware of. So these are the 5 precepts in Buddhism. The 5 precepts that we should train ourselves, that we should cultivate ourselves in the practice. So let's move on about this part about the precepts not being commandments. Let's see what this means. Okay, firstly there's faith. Faith, there's 2 kinds of faith. One is blind faith, one is wisdom faith. These are the 2 aspects of faith. Let's look at what this means further. Blind faith means you are dogmatic, you are unquestioning. Dogmatic means you just believe in something despite all the evidence to the contrary. That means, in other words, if people prove to you that you are wrong, you still believe it in any case. This is what we mean by dogmatic. Unquestioning means you don't question. You just take it as face value. You believe what people tell you. Even though you know it is wrong, even though it's proven to you that it's wrong, you just believe it and you believe in it without questioning it, without taking it further. Wisdom faith, on the other hand, is different. It's receptive, it is inquiring. Receptive means you are open to new ideas, new teachings. You are open to people giving you advice which you may take if it is correct. Inquiring means you ask questions, which means that even though people tell you to do something, even though people give you advice, you still should ask questions. So you don't just take it on face value without asking questions. So these are two opposite things. One is blind faith, one is wisdom faith. This is an example of blind faith. In the USA, not too long ago, just last year, 2009, in this ABC News article, prayer fails to save sick girl and the father was jailed. So let me just read this out to you for those who can't see. So a man in the United States has been found guilty of killing his sick daughter by praying for her recovery instead of seeking medical help. So the prosecutors convicted the father of second-degree reckless homicide. What happens is that the daughter, this girl, collapsed at her family home in this rural country of Wisconsin. So this 11-year-old girl was suffering from undiagnosed diabetes. So instead of going to seek medical help, the court was told that her family surrounded her and prayed for her recovery rather than seeking medical help. Only when she stopped breathing did anyone call an ambulance. The father once studied to be a Pentecostal minister, so he testified in court that he believed God will heal his daughter. So this is quite foolish, right? Because instead of going to seek medical help for his daughter, he said that he would put God first. If he called the doctor, he would have put the doctor first and God second. So that's why he didn't call the doctor and his daughter died. So this is an example of blind faith. So both the mother and father, they faced 25 years in prison. I don't know how long they got, but they may have probably had to serve at least a few years in prison for this reckless act of homicide. Yeah, that's right. So I mean, a lot of these people, they say God works in mysterious ways. You don't question. Yeah, so you don't question. So it all comes down to, I think you are right, it all comes down to ignorance as well as blind faith. Because when you say that God works in mysterious ways, it means you don't question. So if it means you don't question, it means it's nothing more than blind faith. So you don't want to think about anything else, you just put your faith in God and then you expect God to heal the daughter. So this is not an isolated incident. There are many cases apparently of people dying already getting extremely sick because they refuse to call the doctor. They rather pray for recovery rather than call for medical assistance. So the other thing is morality. Morality has two aspects, externalize and internalize. So what do we mean by this? Externalize means we place the responsibility of our morality outside ourselves. Internalize means we take responsibility for our morality ourselves. So this difference is like this. Another article. The devil made me slay my son. So this case, let me just read. I think the gist of it is that these people, they just put their morality outside themselves. In other words, their preacher or their imam or whatever the case may be, an external party, tells them to do something and then without questioning it, they just go and do it. So this is not good because their morality is outside of themselves. So what we want to look at is a combination of externalized morality and blind faith or internalized morality and wisdom faith. So if you mix the two, if you mix externalized morality and blind faith, what do you get? You get things like 9/11. You get things like the Bali bombing. Because these are people who go and kill, destroy things without asking questions. Just having blind faith in their teachings presented to them by their imams, by their preachers, whatever the case may be. I mean, this, of course, is extreme. But this is what happens when you mix externalized morality and blind faith. You get all these extremist acts. Because these people, they just believe what they're being taught. They just believe what they're being told. So they believe that they'll be reborn in a heaven with all the 33 virgins. I think you can read that in the papers. This is their belief. We are not criticizing them or putting them down, but this is truly and really what they believe. So on the other hand, Buddhism encourages internalized morality and wisdom faith, the opposite of externalized morality and blind faith. Buddhism encourages internalized morality and wisdom faith. So we take our morality within ourselves. We take the responsibility of our actions ourselves. We don't leave it to others to tell us what to do. And wisdom faith also, we are open, we question. We don't just take everything on face value. So this is the first aspect of the precepts. They are not commandments. They are a training rule that we can train ourselves to be better people and, of course, better Buddhists as time goes by. The other aspect of the precepts is that they are our protection. So, obviously, if you abstain from harming and killing, you won't get into trouble, right? I mean, like some of these people, they get into fights, they even murder people. If they keep this precept, they won't go to jail, they won't get hanged. Abstain from taking what is not given. If you don't steal, if you are honest, if you are not dishonest, you won't get into trouble. Right? And of course, these things, one leads to another. I mean, you may start small, you may take a bit of your office stationery back. Okay, no big deal. Quite common, you take all the pens, foolscap paper, things like that, you take all these things back. But this may lead to more and more things, because you never know. People may get greedy. They may say, oh, it's easy to cheat the company. Then they cheat a bit, they steal a bit here and there, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Then you can see in the newspapers what happens to these people who abscond with money, who cheat their company, forge checks. If you keep this precept, you won't get into trouble, and that is a protection from getting into trouble. The other thing is, of course, sexual misconduct. You don't go and fool around with other people's wives or husband, you won't get into trouble, right? So you are protected from family problems if you abstain from sexual misconduct. Lying and false speech. Obviously, you tell a lot of lies, you hurt people, you get into trouble sooner or later. Right? And of course, people don't like you, they hate you, and then one day they may take their revenge on you. So this is a protection from such negative acts rebounding on you in future. Abstain from the abuse of intoxicants and drugs. Again, obviously, this is a protection because you don't get drunk, you don't take drugs. You don't get into drink driving. You won't go to jail because of drugs. So you are protected if you keep these precepts. Okay, let me ask you all. Which is the most important of all these 5 precepts? Who says the first one is the most important? Abstain from harming and killing. Okay, who says the second one is the most important? No one. Okay, who says the third one is the most important? How about the fourth one? Who says the fourth one, abstain from lying and false speech, is the most important precept? No one? Okay, who says the fifth one is the most important precept? One. Hey, what happened to the other people? Okay. Okay, good point. So who says all are the most important? Unfair. You must choose one. No playing cheat. Okay, so you say the first one, the most important because it's number 1, right? Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Okay, you said the fifth one, right? Can you tell us the reason why it's the fifth one? Okay, this sister said the fifth one is the most important because by breaking the fifth precept, you will break all the other precepts. Okay, let me explain. This sister is absolutely correct. Because if you break the fifth precept, you are capable of breaking all the other precepts. Give you an example. The person goes to the pub with his colleagues, go and drink, gets drunk, gets high. So then he's attracted to one of his colleagues. Then he wants to go out, stay out longer with his either female or male colleague. So call up, tell his wife, hey, I got to go back to office for work now, But actually he wants to spend more time with this other colleague, right? So he already break the fourth precept. Then what happens is that they go to Hotel 81. So Hotel 81, they break the third precept. High already, right? Lost control. Then next is, okay lah, you want to buy that colleague a nice present, Louis Vuitton bag, because you had such a nice time the previous night. So you went take money from your husband's or wife's account to buy that present, right? Because it's expensive, right? So you break the second precept. Then the first precept. Okay, few weeks later, hello, I got a problem. There's a baby on the way. Then what happens? Abortion, So abortion is you break the first precept, So this is absolutely correct. When you break the fifth precept, you are capable of breaking all the other precepts. It's common, you can see in newspaper reports. People drink. They kill somebody by driving. They get into a fight. And then they abuse each other. They hurt each other. So this is actually the most important. Because if you break the fifth precept, generally what happens is that you are capable of breaking all the other precepts. Because in Buddhism, the most important is the mind. As you know from the Dhammapada, mind is the forerunner of everything. So everything, all your actions of body, speech and mind stem from the mind. So mind determines all your actions. So but the thing is that if you break this fifth precept, that means your mind is affected, That means once your mind is affected, you don't know what you're doing, you are capable of breaking all the five precepts. That's why in Buddhism the mind is the most important. And this is a thing which affects your mind directly. When you fall under this, you can actually break all the other precepts. But you're also right, because in one of the suttas, the Buddha said the fourth precept is very important. The Buddha said a person who lies easily can also break all the other precepts. So anyway, so if you break the fifth precept, generally you are capable of doing any other actions because you are no longer in control of your own mind. So we go on to aspect of the precept that they are the means of training ourselves. Firstly is self-restraint. That means we must be able to restrain ourselves, not to anyhow break the precepts. Because it is easy to break the precepts. Let's say ordinary people, it's easy to tell lies, it's easy to get drunk, it's easy to take things, easy to conduct sexual misconduct, easy to harm other beings. But once you start taking the precepts, once you start to try to observe the precepts, this means that you need some kind of self-restraint. It's not just you just do anything you want. That means this is a check on you to practice some form of self-restraint. And of course, to practice self-restraint, you need a bit of determination. Without determination, you can never practice self-restraint. And of course, the other thing you need is to have some consideration for others. So these are the three things which help us to train ourselves. Self-restraint, determination, and to have some consideration for others. Because as you practice the precepts, you know that, for example, when you take things which do not belong to you, when you conduct sexual misconduct, when you harm others, when you tell lies, when you take drinks and drugs, this means that you have no consideration for others. You hurt others through your words and through your actions. So these are the three means of training ourselves through the precepts. Self-restraint, determination, and you must have some consideration for all others before you can go further. So this leads to a clear conscience. And it leads to a peaceful mind. Because if you keep breaking the precepts, how can you have a clear conscience? How can you have a peaceful mind? Right? So these three things, once you are able to practice some self-restraint, some determination, some consideration for all others, once you are a bit consistent in keeping your precepts, this will lead to having a clear conscience, it will lead to having a peaceful mind. And this means that we can go on to practice the 5 positive precepts. What we have seen so far are the so-called ordinary 5 negative precepts. The 5 precepts are actually, don't do this, don't do that. Or rather, try not to do this, try not to do that. Correct? No? But there are such a thing known as the 5 positive precepts. They call them the 5 ennoblers. I just like to call them more simply the 5 positive precepts. So what are these? Abstain from harming and killing. What is the positive aspect of this? Is to practice harmlessness and compassion. But again, how can you practice harmlessness and compassion if you are still harming and killing? You must go step by step first, right? You must first train yourself to abstain from harming and killing first, and then you can practice harmlessness and compassion. So you go step by step. You help others. This means that you go a bit further to help others. You try not to eat so much live seafood. You try not to eat so much animal food. You try to help others in any way you can. So this is the first positive precept. to try to practice harmlessness and compassion over and above just simply abstaining from harming and killing. The next one, abstain from taking what is not given. The positive aspect of this is to practice kindness and generosity. Help others, give a bit of donations. Some people are poor, maybe your relatives are poor, just help them a bit. If you can afford it, you help them. Then sometimes, those, you come across those flag days. Those kids, they go around with the tins to solicit for donations. Sometimes you try, some of those kids are quite shy, right? And they stand away from you. So you call them, come. Yeah, they say, me. They say, yeah, you come. And you give them $2, and they'll be very happy, right? So this means that you try to practice kindness and generosity above and beyond the precept of abstaining from taking what is not given. So abstain from sexual misconduct is to practice faithfulness and responsibility. Not only to your partner, but also to your family. Because at the end of the day, what matters also in your life is your family. For those of us who have families. So we do need to be responsible to them. So we don't go and anyhow do sexual misconduct, have affairs, fool around. So we should try to practice faithfulness and responsibility over and above just to abstain from sexual misconduct. Lying and false speech, practice truthful and pleasant speech. Not to just anyhow talk things, gossip, malicious speech, spread rumors and all that. But try to practice truthful and pleasant speech. And of course, the greatest aspect of this is to talk about the Dharma to your friends who may not know about it. So this is the highest aspect of the speech. So to practice truthful and pleasant speech over and above to abstain from lying and false speech. Finally, abstain from the abuse of intoxicants and drugs. The positive aspect of this is to practice self-control and mindfulness. Because when you take drugs, when you are intoxicated, when you are drunk, you are not mindful at all. You have lost your mindfulness, you have lost your self-control. The opposite is to practice self-control and mindfulness. But if you tell a person who always gets drunk, who always goes to pub, enjoy himself, you ask him to practice meditation, no way he's going to practice meditation, right? Next to impossible. A person who cannot keep the precepts, ask him to go further into Buddhism, very, very difficult, not to say meditation. So the opposite of taking intoxicants and drugs is to practice self-control and mindfulness, and this you cultivate eventually through the practice of meditation. So let's see how this ties in with the Eightfold Path. Right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, right understanding, right thought. The Eightfold Path. The first three, right speech, right action, right livelihood, consist of the morality group. Right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration consists of the mental development group. Right understanding, right thought consists of the wisdom group. Morality is the foundation of everything. Without morality, you cannot progress further. This is the foundation. Without morality, you can never practice meditation, not to say to acquire wisdom. Person who cheats, lies, steals consistently, harms other beings, drinks, takes drugs. Can he get anywhere further in the Buddhist practice? I think very difficult. So the basis of the Buddhist practice is actually morality, the foundation of everything. Once you have built up a certain degree of morality, then you can go into mental development. Once you have morality, you can develop, you can enjoy having a peaceful mind, having a clear conscience. Once you have that, you can go and learn a bit of meditation, practice some meditation, practice mindfulness. When your morality is strong, you go into mental development. When your mental development progresses, your wisdom and understanding develops. When your wisdom and understanding develops, you can see why morality is so important, the necessity for morality. And that means your morality will become better. It will become better and better and better. So first you start with the basis of morality, the 5 precepts. You go and practice a bit of meditation. You get some wisdom and understanding. You can practice the Eightfold Path. You can go and learn a bit about Buddhism. You can practice some harmlessness, compassion, and then your morality will increase. Once your morality increases, your mental development increases, your meditation gets better. And once your meditation gets better, again, you acquire more wisdom and understanding, and then gradually you will attain stream entry. I'll explain stream entry a couple of lessons from now. And then gradually, once you attain stream entry, you are on the Buddhist path, really on the Buddhist path. Finally, you attain to Nibbana. So what I'm just trying to say is that for the 5 precepts, for this talk, morality is the basis, is the foundation for all our practice. So this is just to keep in mind for the purpose of the talk on the 5 precepts, the importance of morality, because without that it is difficult, if not impossible, to get further in our Buddhist practice. Okay, now comes to this point. A lot of people ask, how strictly should we observe the 5 precepts? The most common question when it comes to these 5 precepts. How strictly should we observe? Must we really observe so strictly that we cannot deviate? Or is there any room to deviate? Is there any room to make mistakes? Okay, just now I told you what is internalized morality, right? That means you take the responsibility of your own actions yourself. And I also told you about wisdom faith. You question, you know what you are doing, you attain wisdom faith. Once you have internalized morality and wisdom faith, and also you know that we are the heirs to our own karma, then you know what to do already. Because we know that all our actions will produce positive or negative results, depending on whether we have done positive or negative actions. So we know internalized morality, we know wisdom faith, we know that we are the heirs to our own karma. So how strictly should we observe the 5 precepts? You decide for yourselves. No one can tell you. You know yourself how strictly you want to observe the 5 precepts. I tell you, no point. Somebody else tell you, no point. The Bhante tell you, so no point. You practice yourself, you cultivate yourself. You know the question to this answer yourself. So this is a gradual means of training yourself to be better and better people, to be better and better Buddhists. Any questions? Yes? Okay.
How I practice, I also 12 seconds.
Okay.
So is that minimum?
Okay, this brother asks, you want to run 100 meters in 10 seconds, right? But no matter how much you train, the most you can get is 12 seconds. Well, I think the thing is that you try. The question in Buddhism is that you make an effort. Because if let's say you want to run in 10 seconds, but before you train yourself, maybe you run in 20 seconds, correct or not? Let's say you want to run 10 seconds, but before you start training, you can only run 100 meters in 20 seconds. But now, after training yourself, you can at least run 12 seconds, right? So isn't it 12 seconds much better than 20 seconds? So even though you may not have achieved 10 seconds, but you are still much better than when you first started. So therefore, even in Buddhism, okay, fine, you may not be perfect. You may not be able to keep the precepts 100%. Maybe sometimes you break them once in a while. It's okay, not to worry. The thing is that you try harder. You know your mistake, you try harder. Maybe some people, I know of some people, no matter how they try, they just simply cannot meditate. Yeah, sure, they should still try, they should not give up. But the fact is that by trying, they improve themselves. Right? You try, even though you can't really meditate properly, but you still have attained some self-restraint, you still have acquired some discipline, you have made the effort. So that makes you a better person. Right? You cannot be totally, you don't improve. So even though you may not be able to run 100 meters in 10 seconds, 12 seconds is still not too bad. And then in Buddhism, doesn't matter because this will carry forward to our next life. So even though this life we may not be able to run 12 seconds, maybe next time we run 9 seconds or 8 seconds. Who knows? Yes, of course, there's a continuation. That's why I'm saying later on I'll go into this part about the stream entry, about the gradual path of Buddhism. Because you are precisely right. Buddhism doesn't mean you must start today and then at the end of it you must be able to run 10 seconds. No, because Buddhism is each person has different capabilities, each person has different capacities. Yeah, some people straight away they can run 10 seconds. But some people, no matter how they train, they can only attain 12 seconds. Some people, no matter how they train, they can only attain 18 seconds. So you are still better than them, you have at least attained 12 seconds. So Buddhism is a gradual path. You take your time, but the key is to try your best. Not that you can keep it 100%, but to try, to be aware when you've broken them, you try again, and then slowly, this is how you develop and improve yourselves. Yeah, good. That's a very good point. Actually, I never thought of it this way, but you give a very real-life example on how we can progress as Buddhists even in this life. So that's an excellent way to explain things also.
I suppose I can add this one. Death is certain. We do not know when it will come. So do we have to double our efforts to practice?
Okay, so the brother asks, life is uncertain, death is certain. This is something we hear very often in Buddhism. Because for a fact, we are here, but eventually we will die. So we don't know the conditions of our life, but we know that we will surely die one day. So you're precisely right in saying that life is uncertain, death is certain. So should we really go all out to practice in this life or not? It depends on your outlook. Again, the Buddha did not say this that you really, really must practice so hard, be a monk, renounce. You can still be a lay person. I mean, for some people, yes, they go all out, they renounce, they become a monk. They go and live in the forest, really, really try to attain Nibbana. But as lay people, doesn't mean that we have to go to the extent. We can still practice as a lay people. So it is up to us individually how far we want to practice. And this is, like I said, the gradual path of Buddhism. Each one of us, each one of you will develop differently. Each one of you, every single one of you will have different attainments. Some will progress faster, some will progress slower. Some will be better at meditation, some will be worse at meditation. Some will keep the precepts easy, some will not be able to keep the precepts easy. So this is up to you. But as you practice, you will see the urgency. Because one of the things that Buddha said is that, well, he told the monks, not the lay people. Because, as I mentioned in one of the lessons previously, most of the teachings were for the monks. So he told the monks, how you practice in this life, you practice as if your turban is on fire. That means there's an urgency to practice. Because if you do not take the chance to practice in this life, you don't know what is the conditions of your next life. So I'll explore this again when we go to the 31 planes of existence. So one way of looking at it is that, yes, we are lay people. We practice gradually. But you don't forget that we should also still take this opportunity to practice as much as we can while we have the chance to practice as much as we can. We don't know the conditions of our next life. We don't know, like you said, death is uncertain. Whether we go out, we step out the door, we get hit by a car, and then that's the end of us. So the Buddha also asked his monks how urgently he should practice. So the monk said he should practice as much as he can in the space of one afternoon. For example, I'm just paraphrasing, I can't remember the sutta exactly. So the monk said he will practice as much as he can as if he has only one afternoon left to live. The other monk said he will practice as much as he can as if he has only 1 hour left to live. The third monk said he will practice as much as he can as if he has the time left only for one meal to eat. Then the last monk said he will practice as much as he can as if he has only time to draw one more breath. So the Buddha praised the last monk because the monk saw the urgency to practice. He will practice as if he has only one breath left to live. That is the urgency. But again, that is for the monks. For us as lay people, the key is to practice as much as we can to the maximum of our capability. But don't go to too much extremes that you affect your family. That's one thing you have to keep in mind. Because Buddhism is a middle path. You don't try to go through the extremes. The middle path, for you and for you and for you, everybody has a different middle path. So your middle path may be different from the sister's middle path. This sister's middle path may be different from this brother's middle path. So go according to your own middle path. But the thing is that try your best, train yourself, and then you can go further from then on. Butcher. Okay, a butcher, many people ask about these questions, butcher, hangman, soldier. All these people are breaking the precepts. Like for example, lawyers. Lawyers lie through their teeth for a living. You can see that. No. Okay, salesmen, even property people. It's in their job to tell lies. They have to tell lies to close a deal. Lawyers are a very good example. You can go to court, the truth, they can twist and turn until it becomes nowhere near the truth. So actually they lie for a living. Butchers kill for a living. Fishermen also catch fish, kill for a living. Hangmen kill people for a living. So how you reconcile this? You can't reconcile this. These people are these people. You are you. We practice to the best of our ability. The lawyers, the property agents who tell lies for a living, the people who kill for a living, you can't help it. That is their karma. If they want to practice Buddhism, it's difficult. Buddhism is for people who can give up these harmful ways of life. Like these people who stick to these harmful ways of life, it is difficult to practice. But don't worry too much about them. We just practice ourselves. I mean, people always ask questions about these other people, but we just put that aside first. Don't worry too much about them. We just practice ourselves first, and we set the good examples for our family, our friends, and that's all we need to know. Don't worry too much about these butchers, fishermen, lawyers. Okay?